r/ask Reddit. What will no one ever be able to convince you of? There's a bar in my town that everyone claims is a biker/cowboy bar. Nah, that is a gay bar. It's called the Pump House. Come on people. Do they also claim it's an Indian, cop, construction worker, and GI bar? If so, you might be onto something. There is an acronym that is ripping through my head right now. Edit. Okay. Today I learned that there is a thing called an initialism. That everyone is essentially a good person. Hell no. I have met people who could be directly related to Satan. I am a psychologist, and there are a lot of toxic people with personality disorders out there who can wreck your life. What if I realize that I'm that toxic person? I'm recently starting to go to therapy, but I don't know how to start. This isn't me, but no one on this earth can convince my father that the moon landing happened. His argument is if it really happened, we'd have a Walmart up there or something. Honestly. What other weird stuff does he say? He used to tell me that he'd give me an allowance as soon as I started paying rent at the ripe old age of 10. I did for about 2 months and went $300 in debt to eat one of those world's hottest peppers. I would possibly die doing it, but there's definitely an amount of money that could get me to eat one of these. I'd like to be able to pay off my house in one go. My dignity has a price, and that price is anything over $20. Before surgery, my doctor had me meet the surgeon. The guy told me how I should cut all gluten out of my diet and to never eat anything after 6 p.m. He told me that if his own wife hasn't finished cooking dinner by 6 p.m. he has her store it or throw it away. I just kinda smiled and nodded before they put me under to let this madman cut me up. He told me that if his own wife hasn't finished cooking dinner by 6 p.m. he has her store it or throw it away. I'm just imagining his poor wife racing against the clock as she tries to finish cooking dinner before 6 p.m. only to be interrupted by him barging into the kitchen at 6:01 p.m. like throw IT away beach. IT's past 6 p.m. That or she just cleverly takes advantage of it to never have to worry about cooking for him. Sorry dear, I know you're starving, but this lasagna would have taken at least 40 minutes and it's already 5:30. Maybe next time. That no two snowflakes are the same. I mean, really, in the history of cold climate, the millions of feet of snowfall, there hasn't been even one repeated structure? Maybe a repeated structure, but if you were to look at it on like an atomic level, they're all different by at least one molecule placement. But you're right, the same structure from just a shape standpoint has probably reoccurred at least once. Okay, but that just reduces it to the level of completely uninteresting. Nothing is the same as anything else at an atomic level. That they couldn't believe it wasn't butter. They knew. They lied to us all. I feel like someone should file a class action lawsuit. That Casey Anthony didn't kill that poor little girl. That was one of the most WTF trials I think I've ever seen. I completely understood why people were so glued to the TV. I remember overhearing a friend of mine saying she'll get off because she's kind of hot and laughing at how outlandish it sounded. Yikes. Edit. Did not expect to get a ton of replies. To clarify, I'm no expert and was like 16 when the trial was going on. Me at 16 and me in the present would likely come to different conclusions. I simply remember how it grabbed what seemed like the entire world's attention for a short while. I'd like to imagine that anyone selected as a juror would do their due diligence, though I know how utopian that may seem. That is all. The fact she got off because some jurors didn't believe in the death penalty so they let her off. How that doesn't constitute a mistrial is beyond me. The punishment directed how they voted. That when a person who was a complete a-hole dies, all of a sudden they deserve respect, and that I'm the a-hole for pointing out how much of an a-hole they were. Am I happy they're dead? No. Do I think they deserve to die? No. But they were still a ducking dong, and I'm not going to pretend like they weren't, and my world is shattering because that ducking dong died. Same with old people in nursing home. Some of them don't have visitors because all their life they were a-holes to everyone. I worked in a nursing home and saw quite a bit of this. I never blamed their children, but at the same time, there's something really sad about someone spending the end of their life miserable and alone, even if they deserve it. Of course, that could be because I only saw the sad end. and didn't witness all the stuff that led up to it. I worked as a PCA and CNA for years, and I worked with some truly awful patients, even people who were still awful to the staff they completely depended on. I couldn't get myself to not care that they were miserable. Maybe I'm too soft. Edit. I want to clarify that I'm not disagreeing with Sonia72 Quebec. A lot of times their misery is well earned. It's just that being faced with it might be different from what people expect. That the cliche follow your heart is always the correct thing to do. Only in Disney movies, haha. Hitler followed his heart. Actually, he wanted to go to art school. That being cynical means you're also sure intelligent. I laugh at the amount of people who believe that just because they are cynical, they are somehow more intelligent than everyone else because of it. Sometimes cynicism just sucks the fun out of the room. Cynicism masquerades as wisdom, but it is the farthest thing from it, because cynics don't learn anything, because cynicism is a self-imposed blindness, a rejection of the world because we are afraid it will hurt us or disappoint us. Stephen Colbert. Every ounce of my cynicism is supported by historical precedent. Glenn Cook. Shadow Gomez said it. I don't know what black company is. The joke was to quote someone whose opinion doesn't matter. That folding fitted sheets is possible without some sort of dark magic. Can confirm. Watched my friend do it. Somehow turned them into regular sheets halfway through. The only explanation is she's a witch. Does she weigh the same as a duck? Surely they weren't all kung fu fighting. It's also highly unlikely that those kicks were fast as lightning. Have you ever seen how fast lightning strikes? It's super fast. There's no way someone could be that fast. No way. But if they were, it is possible to assume they were correct in it being a little bit frightening. That the earth is flat. I dunno, I went to Australia and everything wasn't upside down. The moon is, actually. That your astrological sign has any effect on your personality or character. I encourage all non-astrology believers to try this with their astrologist friends because it's incredibly satisfying. My ex-boyfriend was super into astrology and was convinced that it determined his entire existence. I told him it was completely BS. That the descriptions of each personality are so broad that they all can apply to basically anyone. To prove it, I told him, okay, tell me why I have the characteristics of a Scorpio. Of course. He read the description and pointed out everything that reflected my personality, and just glossed over those that didn't. Then I said, okay, but like I said, they can apply to everyone. Tell me why I'm not, let's say a Libra, for example. So again he read the description, pointing out all the things that didn't apply to me, explaining how I clearly could not be a Libra. Then I reminded him of my birthday, and that I actually am a Libra. The look on his face as he tried to change the subject was priceless. Petty, I know, but priceless. That it's pronounced GIF not GIF. God himself could come down and tell me it's GIF and I'd still say GIF at it. I know how the damn creator said it should be pronounced. I still jaff. Thanks Jod. Hello, Jod, it's me, Margaret. That vaccines are bad. How to vaccinescus autism. They ducking don't. That smoking whilst pregnant isn't selfish and immoral. Agreed. I quit the day I found out. Congratulations. That I should enjoy parties. I'm not an introvert by any means, but going to those kinds of events is annoying for me. I only enjoy drinking when I'm just with my friends. I don't like dressing appropriately and I actually get dizzy with the combination of people plus music. Kind of sucks that many people meet because of parties, but I just can't bring myself to enjoy them. And believe me, I have tried. There are different kinds of parties though, so maybe loud house shaking filled to the brim everyone screaming to hear themselves parties aren't your thing. Same here, but I also consider having 8 people over for drinks and board games a party and that's totally my jam. P.S. What is dressing appropriately? Genuinely curious. Similarly, bars and nightclubs. That I should spend less time on Reddit. How else will I poop for 3 hours without actually pooping? That they are not actors in car commercials. They're just really in all of those J.D. Power awards. That some people don't deserve to die. There will always be certain crimes that should be punishable by death, like people that don't turn on their blinkers. Oh. Some people definitely deserve to die, but I don't think human beings are smart enough to be the arbiter of that particular form of justice. Which is why I don't believe in the death penalty. Too many people have been exonerated from death row for the death penalty to be a good idea. Too many people have been exonerated from death row after being executed for the death penalty to be a good idea. Over time losing you money with taxes. Oh, well this one is easy. People think that you might get bumped up into a higher tax bracket and then all your wages will be taxed higher because people don't understand our tax system. Agreed. People don't do or understand their own taxes. Being in a higher bracket only affects a portion of income in that tax bracket. You do owe more taxes but overall you will take home more money. Seasonal workers can really see a benefit as they have large amount of overtime for part of the year. This overtaxing would be returned after they file taxes. That my parents deserve to be in my life. Not because they did anything to deserve to be there, but only because they happened to create me. Yep, right with you there. I've taken to just straight up jumping to the very worst. Because things like, you don't want to know or my family are not nice people doesn't seem to get through. But my father tried to trade me to child traffickers for drugs really shuts people up. That microtransactions in paid video games are acceptable, that free games that exist just to get people addicted to them to make them spend money are acceptable. For the most part, you're not wrong. There are a few key exceptions to this. Path of Exile, for example, is entirely free to play. MTX in that game goes towards funding the company that made it, while giving you spiffy clothes to wear. The clothes and effects have zero impact on the game itself. Purely cosmetic. Arguably, some MTX improves quality of life by providing extra features like increased storage space or simplified trading. But you don't need to spend a penny to have a ton of fun for hundreds of hours with PoE. This should be the MTX model of games that claim to be free to play but it sadly isn't. The vast majority of MTX and games are the reason why you're pretty much spot on. No one will ever convince me to join their MLM group. Do you have a minute to talk about our Lord and Savior, essential oils? That I need religion in my life. Some people do. Some people don't. People know what's best for them and nobody should try to convince an atheist to become religious or a religious person to become an atheist. I am an atheist and I disagree. I don't get upset when religious people try to convert me because, as long as they are earnest in their beliefs, they are genuinely attempting to prevent me from suffering an eternity in hell, or whatever punishment I receive for not aligning with their faith. That I need a child in order to be able to experience full and real love in my life and that it's the only way that I'll be complete as a woman. That and that pickles are tasty. Tried them several times, and they are not in fact tasty. Edit. I have tried many pickles throughout my life. I have disliked them all. I'm not even that fond of cucumbers that aren't pickled. Other pickled foods are iffy with me, but I'd mostly rather not have them. I don't like dill seasoning either, so dips, sauces, foods, etc. that include it are no good with me. I don't like pickle juice or the smell of pickles or the residue pickles leave on foods and people they've been around or in. What follows is a list of the kinds of pickles I have tried. I'm no expert, obviously, so I don't know their proper names. Pickle chip things that go on burgers and sandwiches, and completely ruin Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches. Dill pickles, sweet pickles, fried pickles, those pickle spear things that come with sandwiches on the side. Maybe if you get pregnant they'll be tasty? 54F. Never gave birth. I feel entirely complete as a woman. In my life, I have flowed the maiden energy in my youth. The mother energy as I cared for ailing loved ones or pets or felt protective. Mama bear, toward people. Now I'm getting into crone energy. I'm all about living life and having experiences now. No hair color or high heels. Feel the sun on my face with no worries about wrinkles. Afraid of very little now. It is a beautiful time of life. Each of the phases has been beautiful. I am completely fulfilled as a woman. I bless those who choose to give birth. I did not, and both choices are okay. Feel the power of choice. That BuzzFeed is good. That skiing is safe. It seems like the perfect way to get impaled, if you ask me. What if I wanna be impaled? Who am I to kink shame? taxes are theft. No, they're ducking not. We have, collectively, as a society, agreed that a government taking money from your paycheck in order to fund public services is perfectly legal. The same system that defines theft explains why taxation isn't theft. You might as well claim that being arrested after shooting your neighbor is kidnapping. You might not like taxes. You might want to eradicate them completely. You might even think they're morally wrong. Although I disagree with you on that, but they're not theft. To play the devil's advocate here, if tax dollars are improperly managed, it could be tantamount to theft. Although some services like police or fire deps are obviously necessary things, some things are not. I think of that $1.3 meters paver in a post last week that had a homeless dude living under it because it hadn't been in use because the city didn't know how to run it properly. I don't mind taxes, but I hate when they go to waste. Also, I think it's terribly flawed that religious institutions don't pay them. Edit. Okay, maybe not taxing the churches can be beneficial. They do provide a public service that does good in the world. But what comes to mind are these mega churches, which expenses, namely the pastors, aka CEOs, rake in millions. That violence will ever cease to exist, or even that I'll ever feel safe. Oh my, I'm sorry. I'm sure violence will never cease to exist, but I'm sorry you don't ever feel safe. That you can be whatever you want if you put your mind to it. Not everyone can cook, but a great cook can come from anywhere. That other people's choice of whom they get involved with has some adverse effect on me or my beliefs. There are people out there that believe a Rocky V exists. Avril Lavigne was killed and replaced by a doppelganger. Yes, there are people who believe it. This Brazilian blogger created a page of all the evidence that God exists. And I really don't mean that in a rude or disrespectful way. Honestly, I envy the gift of faith. It's just something I don't have. There can never be conclusive evidence that God exists, so I don't think I could ever be fully convinced of his existence. That Ross and Rachel were on a break. Chemtrails and flat earth. No one will ever convince me that the NBA isn't completely rigged. Yes, the players have to make the shots, but the NBA front office directly influences the outcomes of games to suit their agenda from day one by using the refs to move games the way they want them to go. Anything can be called a foul, which stops the clock and sends a guy to the line to make free throws. That avocado is delicious. Get off of my tongue, you slimy, mushy piece of shit. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.